Luke Rosiak, investigative reporter for the Daily Wire. He is the guy who has been following the Loudoun County School Board and what has been going on where the schools have been trying to conceal sexual assault against a girl in the bathroom. That's according to the father. And it looks, Luke, is there any doubt in your mind that this is true now?
Well, in the 72 hours since I published my story, which I had to prove everything on my own because no officials would acknowledge it, they've now all acknowledged it. You've had the prosecutor, the sheriff, and the school system, I believe, all say that, this was the same kid. He was arrested back in May. He was charged with forcible sodomy, and he did go on to be rearrested again on October 6th.
This is unbelievable. And tell the story, in case anybody hasn't heard the story yet. Tell the story.
Sure. So it starts with a guy whose picture, you've seen this guy on TV. He's the guy that's kind of an overweight guy who's got his belly hanging out because the cops are arresting him, and he's dragging him from a school board meeting. He's got a bloody face and a T-shirt ripped. It's an embarrassing photo of this guy that, the cops had basically tackled and charged with disorderly conduct. And they positioned him as being, the avatar of a ruly conservative who's meddling in school board affairs, and he's angry and he should mind his own business. And the National School Board Association put out that letter likening parents to domestic terrorists. They cited him in that letter, and he was, probably one of their main examples.
This is crazy. The arrogance for them to do that. The arrogance.
Yeah, this guy's been in the media for 4 months, but no one really thought to ask why he was at that school board meeting and why he was angry. He wasn't at that school board meeting because he was a bigot. He was at that meeting because they were discussing bathroom policy around transgenders. And just 3 weeks prior, his daughter had been raped, allegedly by a boy who was in the girls' bathroom wearing a skirt. And that charges were filed in that case. A rape kit was done, and the kid was scheduled to have been convicted today, actually. Before other events occurred that I'll get into as I continue this odd story.
Unbelievable.
So, that's June 22nd, 3 weeks after the rape. He's famously arrested at the school board meeting. The prosecutor actually tries to put him in jail for that, even though no one actually goes to jail for disorderly conduct.
And hang on just a second. And this prosecutor would have known about the rape, would they not?
Yeah, and in fact, at his court date, as you would expect, he said, Judge and prosecutor, let me tell you why I was mad that day. I may have engaged in disorderly conduct, but my daughter was raped by a gender fluid person. And so the
school board, I think this is important, and the school board was saying nothing like that has ever happened. And that's what they were saying publicly that night. Correct?
You're absolutely right. That's very important. This guy showed up to the meeting. He'd never been to a school board meeting before. He didn't really even follow politics. But this thing happened to his daughter. He showed up to see what's up. And the school board goes, has there ever been any well, I don't understand why the public is concerned about this policy. Superintendent, give us the facts. Has there ever been a bathroom incident? And the superintendent goes, ma'am, our records show no bathroom assaults of any kind occurring in the school system. So this guy's just out there listening, and he's shocked, and he's stewing, and you're damn right he's mad. Eventually there's just some shouting, and the cops kind of put his hands on him, and it becomes a disorderly conduct arrest.
Jeez.
But yeah, the prosecutor, the elected Commonwealth attorney, so it's like the top DA, showed up and personally tried him for misdemeanors, which is like, they have staff that do that, the assistant DA. But they made a political example out of him and sought jail time for minor, misdemeanor disorderly conduct.
That is one of the most outrageous things I have heard in modern American history when it comes to an injustice. That's just beyond the pale. That these people knew what was going on. Here's a dad who, quite honestly, I think was quite restrained. I don't know if you're a dad yet, but when you're a dad, every dad I've talked to said, oh my gosh, that guy was restrained. I mean, and to have people knowingly deny it for their own political positions, then cover it up, then use the justice system to continue their fraud is, and then the kid goes on to rape another kid. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, it is insane. I mean, I wrote this story. It's one of the longest stories I've ever written. It's 4,000 words long because, like, as you just said, it is on every single turn of events. It just gets worse and worse. It's like some dystopian nightmare. And, you know, this guy's face was all over the country, and it's played on CNN every day. No one ever thought to ask, why is this guy mad? Maybe he had a reason. They did, you know, the statements are on video from that meeting where the superintendent just keeps going. There's no such thing as a transgender predator. Time magazine said so. Our school board records show no records of bathroom assaults. And this guy, you know, the sheriff's investigation was open at that time. A police report was filed 3 weeks prior about forcible sodomy. And so, you know, they basically, although they were prosecuting the kid, they were also prosecuting the dad. And then the school board wasn't telling anyone. The school system wasn't telling anyone. And so he was scheduled to be sent, as I said, to plead guilty today. But before that could happen, on October 6th, last week, the sheriff announced that there had been another sexual assault in the school, and it turned out that while the school system wasn't telling anyone that this had happened, they transferred the kid to a different school about 2 miles away. He allegedly forcibly held a girl in an empty classroom and sexually assaulted her. And so, you know, basically they concealed this, and they passed a transgender policy in the interim that a lot of people didn't want them to pass. You know, girls were horrifically harmed. And to this day, I mean, no one cooperated with my story. I had to pry it out of them. They've now admitted it's all true, but they're trying to offer these weird, very legalistic explanations that we still raise a lot of questions about potentially continued dishonesty about the way they handled this whole thing.
You know, you can make the case that we couldn't say anything, yada, yada, but you don't then treat the dad like this. You don't try to smear him. You don't call him a domestic terrorist. Because if you really are compassionate and you're really trying to solve the problem, you understand what the dad's going through, and you talk to him, you know, away without sheriffs or anything else. And you say, look, I know. What can we do to help your daughter? We have to stay true to this. You don't deny that there's never been a problem when you're in the midst of it. I mean, these people on this school board should go to jail. They should go to jail.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, it was already national news, the way that Loudoun County took aggressive measures to pass this policy. It's been widely covered that they suspended a teacher for speaking at a board meeting where they asked the public for their opinions on a transgender policy. A teacher signed up, and he gave them an opinion that they didn't happen to like, and so they suspended him from his job. And it was just a proposed policy. They were seeking public opinion before passing the policy. So for offering his opinion, which was concern about the transgender policy, they suspended him. It was later overturned in the courts. They, shut down school board meetings when people would show up with too many people had opinions which were different than those of the school board. And so there's a long record of aggressive measures taken to manipulate the public in order to ram hyperpolitical agendas down residents' throats through the school system. And so this fits right in with a pattern. The fact that they would potentially allow kids to be harmed for this purpose, it's like these are hyper-political zealots who put politics over education. We've known that for a while. We knew that when they shut down schools for a year and kids didn't learn anything for 18 months because of teacher union pressure. But now the prospect that children were raped in service of a political agenda and making school officials look less incompetent than they actually are, I think it's shocked the entire state and really the country.
We're talking to Luke Rosiak. He is the investigative reporter from the Daily Wire that actually asked the question, why is this dad so upset? And it has been it's a story that is being ignored on mainstream media. That should tell you everything you need to know. When this story is being ignored by the corporate media, with an exception, I think, of Fox, you don't need to know anymore about if you're getting the truth or not. You're not. Just never turn those organizations on, never spend a dime with them. And quite honestly, I think we should be boycotting their sponsors for covering up rape now, covering up rape. And that's not even going into the Hunter Biden. They are so twisted and dark. They will cover for any kind of depravity. It's disgusting. So, Luke, what is the latest on the story? Where is this going now from here?
I'm going to have a story coming out today that's going to it's going to be an interesting story suggesting continued dishonesty around sexual assaults in Loudoun County schools. This situation, some of the media outlets are starting to cover it. The Washington Post wrote about it last night. And, it's funny watching everyone squirm because first they were like, oh, it's all made up. There was no rape. And then they were like, oh, it did happen, but maybe it's not the same kid. And then they have to admit, no, it is the same kid. As piece by piece, every element of my story keeps getting confirmed by other outlets who, the officials basically have been responding to anger from parents, and now the prosecutor spoke to the Washington Post and acknowledged, yeah, it's the same kid. The Washington Post didn't ask her, well, why did you prosecute the kid's dad or anything like that.
Of course not.
Yeah, it's, this is, so not only were they trying to pass the transgender policy, but here in Virginia, we're having a governor's race. Voting is actually underway right now. They're having early voting, and, it's a polling at a dead heat. Terry McAuliffe wants to be the governor, and he's the guy that said parents shouldn't have a role in schools. And so, I saw someone say online, one of these crazy people, it's the right-wing media using this case to make sure Terry McAuliffe doesn't get into office.
Using this case? How can you... These people are covering for rape in schools for a political agenda. How sick do you have to be to not see that?
Thank you, Glenn. I mean, I saw two girls get raped. No one else, I proved it, and no one else was saying anything, and so I reported it. I would have done so if there were not an election. I would have done so if the kid was not allegedly gender fluid. I would have done so regardless of the politics of the situation because I'm not a lunatic. It is news when multiple children are raped by the same person, and the fact that there was no interest in covering this, it's not anyone using this to keep Terry McAuliffe out of office. The fact that other people were willing to let children get raped and say nothing indicates they wanted to suppress it because they care about getting Terry McAuliffe into office more than they care about children. But there's a lot of people here in Virginia who have traditionally voted for Democrats who have been so disgusted by the last year, the fact that our kids could not go to school for a year, the fact that they shut down our magnet school, which was a very great school. They didn't shut it down, but they got rid of the admissions test because too many Asians were doing well.
Jeez.
You said it well in the lead into this segment, Glenn. I mean, schools matter. Schools matter more than national politics in some ways because here's where we have a voice. We can't do much as regular people in presidential, but you can show up at your school board meeting because this isn't limited only to Loudoun County.
Luke, are you seeing these school board meetings lessen after the FBI threats? Are fewer people coming out?
Well, so they're not letting people come out. I mean, they're like we in Loudoun County now, what they did, they don't let you come in the building. If you get a speaking slot, if you're one of the lucky few who they agree to hear for 1 minute, they will bring you in to this. You will wear a mask, stand behind the thing with a timer in your face, speak for 1 minute. Your microphone will be cut off after 60 seconds, and then they will walk you out.
This is China.
An audience watching them. One lady had to use the bathroom after she spoke, and they told her no, she could not. These are people. But look, we elected these people. I mean, we did elect them. I mean, we in one sense we didn't because most people didn't vote. These are low turnout elections. Most people don't know who the hell's on school boards. But we bear responsibility here. It's important to be informed voters and to be active in local politics because, honestly, the opinion that regular people have about president, it may not make a difference. You can make a difference in your local community. What happened in Loudoun is really bad, but there are problems everywhere. Everyone's got to be involved in their local schools.
Luke, I can't thank you enough. In Sane World, you'd win a Pulitzer Prize for this story. Thank you for doing your homework. God bless you.
Thank you, Glenn.
Keep it up.